I was married to my wife, Megan, for almost 7 years. For the first 5, I honestly thought I had won something rare. We met in college, built our careers side by side, rented terrible apartments, ate cheap takeout, laughed at stupid movies, and made all the normal promises people make when they think love is enough to survive anything. We didn't have kids. We had talked about it, but never rushed. We were saving money, enjoying our freedom, planning a future that felt stable. Or so I thought. The other person in this story is my best friend, Eric. Or, I guess, ex-best friend now. We'd been close since high school. The kind of friendship that survives bad jobs, breakups, moving apartments, family deaths, and every stupid phase of life in between. He was basically my brother. Megan knew him well. We all hung out together. Game nights, birthdays, barbecues, road trips. There was never any reason for me to suspect anything. That's the funny thing about betrayal. It usually looks ordinary until it doesn't. About a year ago, Megan started acting a little different. Nothing huge at first. She was on her phone more often. She started working late a lot. She became weirdly protective of her schedule. If I asked what time she'd be home, she'd say things like, "Why are you checking up on me?" I wasn't checking up on her. I just noticed. Then Eric started acting weird too. At first I thought they were both stressed. Megan had just been promoted. Eric had been dealing with a messy breakup. Life happens. People get distracted. But the weirdness kept building. Megan stopped kissing me goodbye in the morning. Eric stopped coming around as much. When he did, he wouldn't look me in the eye for long. I asked Megan once if everything was okay. She said, "Why would you ask that?" I said, "Because it feels like you're somewhere else lately." She got defensive immediately. "You're being paranoid." That word stuck with me. Because once someone uses it, everything you notice starts sounding crazy. For a while, I let it go. Then one Friday, Megan said she had a girls' dinner with coworkers. Eric texted me around the same time and said he had a headache and was staying in for the night. Something about that felt off, but I ignored it. Around 10:30 p.m., I forgot my laptop charger at work and went back to the office to grab it. My office is downtown. Megan's girls' dinner was supposedly in the same area. When I walked into the restaurant lobby, I saw her. She wasn't with coworkers. She was with Eric. They were standing close. Too close. His hand was on the small of her back. Her head was tilted toward him in that way people only do when they think no one is watching. I stopped walking. They didn't see me at first. Then Megan laughed at something he said, and Eric leaned in and kissed her. I don't mean a quick accidental kiss. I mean a real one. Long enough that it wasn't confusing. I stood there for a second that felt like 10 years. Then I walked out. I didn't confront them. I didn't cause a scene. I got in my car and drove home with my hands shaking so badly I had to pull over twice. When Megan came home 2 hours later, she acted normal. Too normal. She asked if I had eaten. I told her yes. She kissed my cheek like nothing had happened. I spent the entire night staring at the ceiling. The next morning, I didn't say anything. I wanted to see if she'd tell the truth on her own. She didn't. So I did something I'm not proud of, but I'd do it again. I checked her phone while she was in the shower. Yes, I know. Trust me, I know. But at that point, the relationship was already dead. I just wanted proof. What I found was worse than I expected. Months of texts. Hotel receipts. Deleted calls. Photos. Voice notes. Plans. They had been sleeping together for at least 4 months. Maybe longer. And the messages were the kind that make you feel physically sick. Not just flirty. Intimate. Cruel. Megan had told Eric things like, "I don't know why I stay with him sometimes. He's good, but he's so boring. You actually make me feel alive." Eric had replied, "He'll never know. And you deserve better than the life you settled for." I remember sitting on the bathroom floor reading those words and feeling like I was watching my marriage get buried in real time. But I still didn't confront her that day. I didn't want a screaming match. I wanted control. So I waited. For the next 2 weeks, I acted normal. I smiled at dinner. I kissed her goodbye. I asked about her day. I even hung out with Eric once, just to see if he could look me in the face. He could. Barely. Eventually, I asked Megan to sit down with me after dinner. She could tell I was serious. She asked, "What's wrong?" I said, "How long have you been sleeping with Eric?" She went pale so fast I almost felt bad. Almost. She started crying immediately. She said, "It's not what you think." That line alone is enough to make me laugh now. I told her I had the messages. The receipts. The photos. She kept crying and said it had just happened, that she didn't mean for it to go this far, that she felt lonely, that Eric was there for her when I was emotionally checked out. That was an interesting accusation, considering I was the one working 60-hour weeks while she was sneaking around with my best friend. I asked her one simple question. "Did you ever plan to tell me?" She was quiet. That was my answer. She finally said, "I was going to end it." I said, "After how long?" She couldn't answer. Then she said the words I'll never forget. "I only cheated because I didn't think you'd ever leave." That was the moment my feelings turned into something colder. Not anger. Not sadness. Clarity. She had not made a mistake. She had made a calculation. She thought I was safe. Predictable. Forgiving. And somehow, that insulted me more than the cheating itself. I told her I wanted a divorce. She cried harder and begged me not to throw away 7 years. I said, "You threw them away months ago." Then she tried a different tactic. She said Eric meant nothing. She said it was only physical. She said she still loved me. That one was especially insulting, because if she loved me, she had a bizarre way of showing it. Over the next few days, she oscillated between begging and blaming. 1 hour she was remorseful. The next, she was angry that I had invaded her privacy by checking her phone. When people get caught, they always get weirdly creative about where the real problem is. Eric called me. I didn't answer. He texted, saying he owed me an explanation. I replied, "You owe me silence." He kept calling anyway. Finally, I answered. He sounded nervous. He said, "Man, I never meant for you to find out like this." That sentence made my blood run cold. Not "I'm sorry." Not "I was wrong." Just disappointment that the secret got exposed. I told him he was dead to me and hung up. A few days later, he showed up at my apartment door. I almost laughed when I saw him, because he looked like the exact kind of person who expects a speech. He said he wanted to talk. I said, "About what?" "How you slept with my wife in a restaurant lobby while I was 10 minutes away." He looked ashamed for about 3 seconds. Then he said, "It wasn't supposed to happen." I said, "But it did." Repeatedly. He tried to say Megan was unhappy in the marriage. I asked him why, if he knew that, he didn't act like a friend and tell me. He had no answer. That was the last time I ever saw him. As for Megan, she moved in with her sister 2 weeks later. The divorce was ugly, but not as ugly as it could have been, because I documented everything. I wasn't interested in revenge porn, public humiliation, or burning our lives down for entertainment. I just wanted out, cleanly and completely. She tried to ask for reconciliation once the papers arrived. I said no. Then she asked if we could take time apart and revisit things later. I said no again. Then she asked if I could at least forgive her eventually. I told her forgiveness was not my job, and staying married to her definitely wasn't. That seemed to shock her. I think she genuinely believed that if she cried enough, apologized enough, and told me enough times that it didn't mean anything, I'd eventually fold. That's the thing cheaters often miscalculate. They don't just assume you'll stay. They assume your self-respect is negotiable. Mine wasn't. The final blow came during the divorce mediation. She tried to make herself look like the abandoned spouse, saying I had become cold and distant before the affair, as if that somehow justified anything. Then my lawyer calmly produced the timeline of messages, hotel charges, and deleted call logs. The mediator went silent. Megan sat there with tears in her eyes, staring at the table. She looked less like a devastated wife and more like someone who had just been handed consequences in a font she could finally read. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Eric lost more than a friendship. He lost half our mutual circle because once people saw the evidence, they stopped pretending it was complicated. Funny how that works. People love saying relationships are messy until the mess is directly caused by lying to your spouse and screwing your best friend. A few months after the divorce, Megan texted me asking if I'd be willing to meet for coffee. She said she wanted to apologize properly. I didn't go. Instead, I blocked her. Because there are apologies that are really just auditions for forgiveness, and I was done casting her in my life. I've dated since then. Slowly. Carefully. I don't assume everyone is lying to me, but I do pay attention now. If there's one good thing that came out of it, it's this. I stopped confusing loyalty with stupidity. And I stopped calling betrayal a mistake just because the person crying wanted it to be one. She didn't lose me because she cheated. She lost me because she thought I would stay after finding out. That was her real mistake. Not the affair. The assumption.